Hey, what's up guys, it's Kelly and today I am sharing 5 classics that I am aiming to read in 2020. If you find yourself enjoying this video, then please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps me out, and if you're new here and would like to keep on seeing me, then please subscribe. So, every year I make it my resolution to read more classics. Last year I took it a step further and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read a classic every month. I read one classic last year. It's, yeah. So that system of just being like, I want to read more classics, not working for me, clearly. So I thought this year, maybe I should choose 5 books, set a goal, and aim to read those 5 books. It's concrete, it's finite, I can put them on my TBR shelf, and I can see them constantly when I'm trying to look for something to read and be like, yes, that's it, need to choose one of those next. So hopefully this plan works out, we shall see how it goes. So without rambling much more, let me just get into the books. So if you've been here for a while, you may know that one of my favourite books of all time is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and over the course of last year I managed to snag all 4 of the beautiful 100th anniversary centenary editions of the J.D. Salinger books. So I have read Catcher in the Rye, I haven't read any of his other work, but I now own all 3 of them. So one of my goals for this year is to finally read Franny and Zooey by J.D. Salinger. I don't actually really know what this is about. This is 2 short stories, Franny and Zooey. So I chose this one for 2 reasons. One, I feel like this is his next best known work. If people have only read one thing by J.D. Salinger, it's The Catcher in the Rye, and if people have only read 2 things by him, it's that and Franny and Zooey. So that was reason number 1, that it seems to be the most popular, and it also seems to be a lot of people's favourites, but also, and perhaps more importantly, these 2 stories are early works from his work on stories about the Glass family. So these are 2 of the very early stories, and then Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenters and Seymour an Introduction are later entries in the chronicles of the Glass family, so this seemed like a good place to start. To be honest, I don't know a lot about these 2 stories apart from the fact that the Glass stories as a whole follow the Glass family, who are a family of settlers in 20th century New York, and that just, you know, sounds right up my street. So I'm super excited to read this, and also I want to read this because I love it. A couple of stories in the series besides Franny and Zooey have already been published in the New Yorker, and some new material is scheduled to appear there soon. I work like greased lightning myself, but my alter ego and collaborator, Buddy Glass, is insufferably slow. It is my rather subversive opinion that a writer's feelings of anonymity obscurity are the second most valuable property on loan to him during his working years. My wife has asked me to add, however, in a single explosion of candour, that I live in Westport with my dog. So that's just from the inside flap, which is J.D. Salinger's description of the story, and I so much am excited to read this. Once I've read all 3, that's back to front. Once I've read all 3, I do have another book that I'm really excited to read called My Salinger Year, and I don't remember who it's by, but it's a lady who was J.D. Salinger's assistant for a year, and it's her recollections of that time in her life and what it was like to work with him, and I'm so excited to read that, but I want to have read his whole oeuvre of work first, so can't wait to get to these. Then I have this teeny tiny edition of Emma by Jane Austen, which I would really like to read this year. I started reading this a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago I started reading this. I was enjoying it, I just put it down in favour of something else and never picked it up again. Basically what I know about this is that it's about a very privileged girl called Emma who loves acting as a matchmaker for everyone around her, even when it ends in disaster. And that just sounds right up my street. Clueless is one of my favourite movies of all time. I love it so much. So I figure if you replace the 90s wardrobe and soundtrack and cultural significance with 19th century wardrobe and cultural significance. I'm still gonna love it, so super excited to read this, and the new movie looks fantastic, so I would like to read the book first, of course. Then I feel like this needs to be the year that I finally read Dracula by Bram Stoker. This was actually a gift from my mum's best friend, and the note she gave me with it said something, or the card she gave me with it was a birthday present, said something like, this is a necessary addition to any gothic library. This is the quintessential vampire story, and I love me some vampires, so I feel like I need to see where it all started. All of my neighbours are home because of quarantine, and they're loud, man. So if you hear someone shouting Luna, that's my neighbour looking for his cat. Her name is Luna, she's a sweetie pie, but at least like 3 or 4 times a day we hear him calling her because she's always just wandering around doing her thing. Another book that I feel like it's really just pastime that I read is The Odyssey by Homer. So this is the story of Odysseus, who goes off to fight in the Trojan War. After he survives, it still takes him 10 years to get home. So it's that story of his epic voyage home, all of the threats that he has to overcome, the monsters he has to fight, this epic struggle for survival. But then we've also got the story of what's happening back home at Ithaca. His home is Ithaca, right? I'm not gonna find it in here. I think he's from Ithaca. So at the same time, we see what's happening there. So his wife has been left behind in Ithaca, and everyone's kind of just assuming that he's dead because it's taken him 10 years to get home from this war. So suitors start coming to his home to try to seduce his wife, to try to marry into the family, and she has no interest in remarrying, so she just has to kind of keep fobbing them off and fobbing them off. So it's these 2 stories running concurrently, and I think it's really, really time that I read this. I was supposed to read this in my 2nd year of university. I did a semester of Greek classical studies. I would have done more, but my university only offered 1 semester in it. And I was supposed to read this book. Well, this epic poem, I suppose. I did not. I did, however, write an essay on it, which I got about 96% for. That was one of my favourite courses at university. I did not open a book, and I think my overall average was like 92, because I bullshitted my way through this essay so well, and on top of that, our tests were about like Greek art and Greek sculpture, and apart from the fact that I'm a Percy Jackson stan who knows all the Greek gods, who knows what they're all the gods of, so if you show me a sculpture of a Greek god, if they're one of the kind of better known ones, normally I can figure out who it is from like the items that they're holding or things like that. So there was that aspect to it, but on top of that, I did art at school, and we did like a year on ancient civilizations art, so I spent a decent amount of time studying Greek art and Greek architecture and Greek sculpture in my art class at high school. So your girl knows her Greek art and her Greek architecture, and that was such a big part of our Greek culture course that I just aced it without having to study at all, and just with the help of SparkNotes managed to ace my essay on the Odyssey as well. But I really feel like I'm ready to read it now, so I am thinking I'm really going to enjoy this. I have to say, Ashley from A Frolic Free Fiction has been inspiring me so much. I've been watching her videos a lot lately, and I just want to read all of the mythology. So I'm busy reading The Song of Achilles at the moment, and then I want to go back to some older stuff, some classic stuff, and where better to start than the Odyssey. And then while we're talking about the classics, I would really like to read, if not the whole Divine Comedy, then at least Dante's Inferno. The whole Divine Comedy, but particularly I feel the Inferno, is so widely referenced in literature throughout history and modernity. one of, I would say, the most widely referenced stories in existence. And while I know the basic premise, Dante goes to hell and Virgil guides him through it, that's pretty much the basic premise, right? I really would like to know more of the details. I would really like to read the whole story because I think I'll really enjoy it. And being religious, I think that I'll really enjoy the religious aspect of this. So the whole Divine Comedy is on my TBR, but I feel like might be a bit ambitious for this year, so even if I just read the Inferno, I think I'll be really happy. So those are my 5 classics that I would really like to read this year. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of any of the books that I mentioned, or if any of these are on your TBRs, or just the classics that you want to read. Thank you very much for watching this. Once again, if you enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye!